DaRon Bland has rapidly ascended into one of the league's best defensive backs this season. This year, he has a passer rating of 52.4 when targeted, 6 pass breakups, and one of the highest PFF coverage grades amongst qualified defensive backs at 90.3. And oh yeah, he's got 8 interceptions this season, 5 of which are pick sixes, which is now the new NFL record for most pick sixes in a season. Coming out of Fresno State in 2022, Bland's physical playstyle fit Dallas' scheme perfectly, and the Cowboys drafted him in the 5th round as a developmental corner. But just a year and a half later, their willingness to bet on his traits and potential paid off. He's become a star this season, and is the ideal cornerback for Dan Quinn's man-heavy system. With this drastic rise, I wanted to see how Bland has done it. What made him go from a depth piece to a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in just one season? And how did he make the transition from playing nickel to playing on the outside go so smoothly? We're going to look at Bland's coverage ability in both the slot and on the outside, how his physicality and speed helps him win rep after rep, and how his great eye for the ball gives him the ability to rack up interceptions like it's nothing. Doing a video on Bland was probably long overdue, but it's here now, so let's get started. We're going to get into Bland's pass breakups and interceptions later in this video, but first, let's look at his coverage ability outside of just getting his hands on the ball. First, we have this play against the Panthers on a 1st and 10. Bland is playing man against Adam Thielen, a smooth route runner who's going to run this out route. But before Thielen breaks into the route, he's going to stem and make a move to the inside first to try and create separation. But Bland isn't falling for this double move. As soon as Thielen breaks back to the outside, Bland is right there with him. Bland stays tight to Thielen and there's very little separation, so Bryce Young has to try to put this ball very far to the left so only his guy can have a chance. But it's a bit too high, and it falls incomplete. Here's a 3rd and 3 against the Rams where Bland is lined up against Tutu Atwell on the wide side. Atwell will go on a short motion before running across the field on a drag route. These are always hard to defend, especially when you start the play playing a little bit outside of your man like Bland is here. But Bland has made catching up the drag routes look easy throughout the season. Bland gets through all the traffic, lines back up with Atwell in no time, and closes the space quickly to make a potential pass harder to throw. Matthew Stafford chooses to target it anyway, but like the last play, he has to throw it far to the outside because Bland has the route closed down, and the pass is too wide for a catch. Bland can also get really physical as well. Here he is versus the Eagles against one of the best receivers in football in A.J. Brown. Brown is running a 9 route and will put a move on Bland around here before taking off downfield for the pass. But as soon as Brown gets into his move, Bland immediately gets his hands onto him. It slows Brown down before he's able to get into his route, and Bland does a nice job of getting his hands off Brown at the right time, so he's not called for a holding penalty. He then uses that concept to quickly turn upfield and run with Brown, and because Brown is slowed down because of Bland's punch earlier in the play, he can't catch up to the pass, and it falls incomplete. And Bland also excels when playing nickel, which is the position he'll likely return to when Trayvon Diggs comes back from his ACL injury next season. Nickel corners of course have to play good coverage, but they're also counted on more than outside corners to defend the run and make plays at the line of scrimmage. Here he is doing the latter on this screenplay against the Giants. He's playing some zone and takes a couple steps back when the play starts, but as soon as Bland notices a screenplay, he darts toward Gary Brightwell in the backfield to make the tackle. He's able to get there before any of the offensive linemen can block him, and it results in a negative play for New York. Here he is in the same game where he's going to break extremely quickly on this short out route from Paris Campbell. Bland is playing man again, and Campbell is going to keep Bland in his place at first by prancing forward before making his cut. But this doesn't fool Bland, and as soon as Daniel Jones starts throwing the ball, Bland plants his foot in the ground and accelerates towards Campbell. The catch is made, but Bland is there immediately to make the tackle and bring Campbell down for a short gain. Campbell had absolutely no chance to turn upfield, and that was due to Bland being aware and quick. We're going to stick with the same game again because I like this play where Bland just completely takes away a route. It's 3rd and 12, which will force the Giants to try and stretch the field. Bland will follow Jalen Hyatt on a short motion before he takes off on a 9 route. He's now the apex defender in this cover 1 cross look, and Bland plays it perfectly to take away the pass that Jones wanted to throw. Once he realizes he can't, it's too late, as Jones is sacked before he can move on to another receiver. But Bland's best trait has to be his ball skills, and that goes without saying given his interception and pass breakup numbers this season. Let's first look at those pass breakups and go back to his ability to lock down drag routes. These plays are especially impressive given Bland starts most of them playing outside shade, meaning he has even more ground to cover to make a play. On this play, Bland is manned up against Devontae Parker. Bland wants to be ready for any route to the outside, and knows he can trust his speed for anything inside, so he allows Parker to have a free inside release to run his drag route. The amount of ground Bland has to cover to make a play is vast, as he's at least 2 to 3 yards away when Parker gets the most separation. But Bland has the jets on and accelerates long enough to catch up and make a nice pass breakup. It helps that he's just faster than Parker here, and you can argue Mac Jones could have thrown a better pass, but regardless, it's still a great play from Bland as he completely closed down the passing window here. Here's one of his best reps against the Chargers where he did the same thing. It's 4th and 1 from the 7, and LA is going to try to go to the end zone here. Bland is playing against Joshua Palmer, who stems up a bit before breaking into his drag route to keep Bland in his place. Bland has outside leverage and is playing catch-up the entire way, but he has the speed to get into Palmer's inside shoulder and into the passing window. And once he does that, it's game over for the Chargers. Once Herbert steps up to throw, there's still some space to make up, so Bland dives to break up the pass to force a turnover on downs. Great play from Bland. This isn't a drag route, but another example of Bland's elite ball skills. We're going to go back to that game against the Rams where Bland is up against another breakout star on Puka Nacua. Nacua is running a deep in route against a press man look from Bland. Nacua doesn't do a bad job of breaking into his route, but Bland does a better job of reacting to the break. He especially does well to see the outside jab step from Nacua, which indicates he's likely breaking to the inside. Stafford's pass is a good one and is caught by Nacua, but as I mentioned, Bland is right next to him. This allows Bland to break up the pass by simply punching the ball out from behind for the incompletion. Once again, we see Bland's acceleration on display as he closes the tiny space that's there between him and Nacua, and it results in Bland winning the rep. But it's not just short routes, he can do it going deep too. We're going to go back to that game against the Eagles and look at this play where AJ Brown lights up against him once more. Dallas is playing quarters coverage, which is the right type of coverage against the route Brown is going to run. Throughout the play, Bland shadows Brown, stays with him the entire way, and once it's time to make a play on the ball, he does so effectively by swatting the ball away to prevent a touchdown. Bland never let Brown get behind him on this one, and his ball skills mixed with his speed is what made the difference here. And now for the main event, it's time to break down Bland's interceptions. We're not going to go through all of them, but the ones that I think are some of his best this season. We'll start with this pick 6 against the Patriots. Bland is over the top of Kendrick Bourne, who's gonna run a hitch route. He'll stay shadowed to him and plays a little off coverage as Mac Jones rolls to the right. But once Jones commits the cardinal sin of throwing across his body, Bland strikes. He pounces quickly and aggressively on the pass as Bourne fails to attack it enough, and there's no one to catch him for the pick 6. This one against the Giants wasn't a pick 6, but one that shows off his skills nonetheless. It's a 1st and 5, and Bland is on the boundary side playing some zone coverage. Jalen Hyatt is running a deep post on the other side of the field, and Tommy DeVito decides he's going to take a chance with him. Once the play begins, Bland is able to trap back from the other side, get into position, and high point the pass to complete the pick while shielding Hyatt away from the pass. If a cornerback can high point an interception like this, it's always a really good play, although this definitely was an unwise decision from DeVito. Here's his pick 6 against the Panthers, which is one of the most impressive interceptions he's had this season. It's 1st and 10, and Bland is once again going to cover a drag route, this time from Jonathan Mingo. Like the previous drag routes, Bland gives his man an inside release, leaving him with lots of ground to cover. And because he's DaRon Bland, he accelerates to close down the space, get in the passing window, and make the interception. After that, he gets up quickly, which leaves him with a lot of space to take off and run, and he even puts a move on Young for good measure before completing his 4th pick 6. It's not even a terrible pass from Young, it's just a better play from Bland here. And finally, Bland's latest interception against the Commanders, and the one that gave him an NFL record. He's up against Jahan Dotson, who's running an out route at about intermediate range. Sam Howell's decision to throw this pass doesn't even look bad, as there's some distance between Bland and Dotson as he's winding up to throw. But one thing we learn in this video is that Bland has the speed to quickly close down that space. He reads Howell like a book, anticipates the pass as quickly as he does, and closes down on the route hard to make the interception. After that, he's off to the races, and even makes 3 Commanders miss a tackle en route to the end zone. Can't remember the last time I've seen any defensive back move like that before. But Bland isn't without flaws. His aggressiveness can get the best of him, especially when he's being attacked deep, and it sometimes leads to him giving up big completions. We can start with 2 plays against the Chargers, with the first one being a 1st and 10 play. Bland is up against Keenan Allen here, who's running a sluggo, or a slant go. Once Allen steps into a supposed slant, Bland will bite on it hard to try and cut it off. But instead, Bland is fooled and Allen has lots of space to go upfield. This would have been a big completion given up by Bland, but Herbert overthrows Allen. He's up against Allen again later in the game, and this time he's lined up against him after Allen motions and Dallas checks into a rock and roll to keep the structure of its coverage. This time, Allen fakes an out route before again taking off upfield, and Bland even falls down as he tries to turn his hips and chase Allen. Bland is even more beat than the previous play, but once again, he's bailed out by an overthrow from Herbert. And sometimes, Bland just gets his feet tangled and can't keep up with the receiver. Here against the Commanders, he's manned up against Curtis Samuel on a 3rd and 10 play, and Samuel's going to come inside before making a sharp cut back to the outside on this route. Once Samuel makes that cut, Bland can't quite react as quickly, and because Howell anticipates this throw well, he's unable to use his speed to make up the separation, and it results in a 30-yard catch. A similar thing happened here against the Seahawks, but in a goal line situation. Bland is manned up against the athletic freak known as DK Metcalf, and he's going to chop his feet to keep Bland in his place before going into a slant route. Bland is unable to get his hands on him, he allows Metcalf to get in front of him, and after that, Bland just doesn't have a shot to break up the pass due to Metcalf shielding the ball away from him. It's hard to defend goal line routes, but there is a bit too much separation here. But despite that, I still think DaRon Bland is having a really good season. He locks down receivers more than he gets beat by them, has a good eye for the ball, and even though it can cost him bad plays, his aggressiveness and physicality really suit him well. Bland can defend the run well too, which is needed from both nickel and outside corners. Overall, I think he's a rising star in this league. Bland may still need a little more development in certain areas, but he's already developed at a very fast rate since entering the league last season. A bad game against the Seahawks doesn't change that. I think Bland is set for great things in this league, and he'll certainly be an asset for Dallas going forward. That'll end things here. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, comment your thoughts and share this video with others. And as always, thanks for watching.